Hey guys, it's Jess and welcome to my channel, A Card Day's Work. I'm super excited to have you here for another Save the Crafty YouTuber hop, and I know that you're going to love all of the inspiration coming your way today. I'm going to be sharing different ways that you can use backgrounds you've already created that you're probably hoarding in your stash if you're anything like me. I have a whole drawer full of backgrounds labeled and everything that I haven't used yet, so I definitely want to use those up. I did want to mention that there is a prize on my channel. If you'd like to be entered for that, just comment below. I've got a $25 gift certificate for the Gray Muse as a prize on my channel. If you want to win, be sure to comment on all the videos for your chance. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chance is to win an awesome prize. And if you like what you see during the hop, be sure to consider subscribing to the person posting that video. Give a big thumbs up, which tells YouTube that you like the content and want to see more of it, and that helps these content creators, which is what this video hop is all about. Let's get started with the video. To get started today, we're going to be doing some die cutting. I'm using my Cuttlebug die cut machine, but you can use whatever die cutting machine you have. And then I'm just taking some backgrounds that I have created, and I am using a stitched die from Fawn to cut out each layer. I'm going to be creating a scene or kind of landscape background with just the backgrounds that I've created on my gel plate, and then cutting them up and layering them to create the appearance of a sky background. I really love this technique because you can get some really awesome textures and looks and kind of vibes that you wouldn't normally have ever thought to use on a background like that, and I just really love the result that you can get from here. So like I said, just using each of those backgrounds, running it through the die cut machine with one of these stitched landscape border dies from Fawn, and then seeing how they're going to compare or line up once I get them all assembled. So the way that I picked the backgrounds for this is I just went through my background drawer and I pulled out anything that I felt like could be an ocean at the bottom, kind of like a varying degree of colors for the ocean, and then I moved on to what I wanted to be the sky, which was more of this kind of like pinky sort of coral feeling background. And this is tiny. This background is not big. It's not like an entire sheet, but you can see I still made use of it even though it had white space on it as well. Then I grabbed a more like a deeper pink, almost purple sort of colored background. Again, I did make all of these on my gel plate, and I do have other videos on my channel on how to use the gel plate and kind of just how it works with creating backgrounds. I really enjoy using it, so I definitely recommend doing that. But you could do this same thing with any backgrounds that you've created with distress inks or oxides. Any of your ink blending or stenciled backgrounds would definitely work perfect for this as well. All right, so once I got all of my pieces cut with the dies, I did move on to trimming them down. I knew that I wanted this card to be a landscape card, and I wanted it to be that scene. So it's going to be A2 size, which is 4¼ by 5½. So right now I'm just trimming each piece down to 5½ so that I get that nice even amount on each side. I don't have anything hanging off the edges, and then I can layer them up together. I'm not going to show you how I assemble each of the cards. I just wanted to focus on the process of how to use the actual backgrounds from your stash, but I will show the finished card for each product so that you have an idea and you can see how these cards came together in the end. Here I just used an alcohol marker to put a little shadow behind each layer and make it a little more obvious that there was multiple layers there, and I think it worked really nicely. It kind of reminds me of one of those old storybooks where it's like layered paper. I don't know. Anyway, I did throw an extra technique in at the end of this card by stamping out some of the coral images, or kind of like seaweed images, from one of the stamp sets I was going to be using for this card onto the rest of the background that I had already cut. So this is another way that you can use up those backgrounds, is to stamp directly on them and then make sure that you are using those. You can fussy cut them or use coordinating dies, but use them on your card, and it's a built-in already colored image that you don't even have to worry about. Win-win in my book. All right, that brings us to our next card. We're going to be doing the same technique that I just showed you with stamping over your backgrounds. And in fact, we're using the same background. We're stamping out these cute little cacti from a stamp set from Altenew called Be Strong. We all need a little encouragement right now, so I figured that was a perfect sentiment or kind of stamp set name to incorporate into all of this. So basically all I've done here is just taken my background, stamped directly onto it with an acrylic block and some black ink, and then fussy cut around that image. Then that way I can go ahead and put that directly onto my card, and it will be, like I said, already colored in, already ready to go. You don't have to do much with it. Now this time I did decide I wanted a little bit more definition in between the cacti and the pot. So I did use some markers and color in just the pot area, but that is all I did with that and left it as is. All right, the next technique is probably the simplest of them all because all it involves doing is just cutting apart your backgrounds that you've already created. Now this one was in a longer 4¼ by 11 background that I had made. So I actually got 4 different background strips out of this. All I did was just cut it down into an A2 size first, so 4¼ by 5½. And then I went in with the paper trimmer again and just sliced it right in half so that they're like 2 1/8, I believe, and by 5½, and I just attached that directly to a white A2 size card base and stamped on my sentiment, and that was it. Super fast and easy to come together, and I mean, it couldn't be any easier. All right, so then the next one I'm going to do is another of where you're just stamping right over top. This is kind of, I would say, my go-to when I'm using up these backgrounds is to use them like this in a paper piecing sense, just because you can get such beautiful results. But I wanted to include this one, even though I had already done that background, because it gave the idea that you can use multiple backgrounds in combination on one card. The next technique that we're going to be doing is to cut apart our background into diagonal stripes and then adhere those to a card for a really cool effect on your card. I really love this one. I love how this turned out. I don't think I could love it anymore. It was so much better than I even pictured when I started cutting it apart. But basically all I did is just slice those in a diagonal and then place them onto my card. I went ahead and used some of my advanced tape glider and then just adhered them onto the card and called it good. Love this one so much. Our next card features basically the same technique without quite as much work. So we're taking another side of that same background and trimming it down just at a diagonal so that it covers up only part of our card. I trimmed it down to make sure that the bottom portion was about 4¼ and then the top, the height of it was 5½. That way it would fit perfectly on an A2 size card base and we wouldn't have to do any extra trimming or trying to figure anything out. But I popped that right on there, added a sentiment, and that is it. Super easy, but you've got a very pretty card that you can send right away. For our next technique, we're just going to be doing some die cutting with sentiments. This is one of my favorite ways to use up backgrounds because you can get such pretty results with this. All I'm doing is running this die through my die cut machine, and then I'm going to layer a couple other colors to incorporate that finished card. You can use a pokey tool if you have trouble getting your dies out, and that works really well for getting those intricate dies out without ripping them or bending them too much. Layered those right on a card and called it a day. I really, really like the way that this one turned out. It almost has an Easter sort of vibe to it, and I really like it. For our final card today, we're going to be cutting our background into a shape. You could do this with an electronic die cutting machine and you'd get much better results. I've actually done it previously in a live stream where I had cut them on my Cricut machine, and I think they were kind of like a hexagon shape, I don't know, like maybe honeycomb, and then used them to create a pattern on a scrapbook layout, which I thought was really neat, and the effect is really cool. In this case, I'm using my paper trimmer to cut them into triangles angles. Then I decided actually that I was going to just go ahead and cut them into 1-inch squares, and then I would cut them with my scissors at the diagonal, and I felt like that worked a little bit better than trying to get the angle perfectly right on the paper trimmer. I did struggle with that a little bit, so then I just moved on to the scissors. Once I got all of my little pieces trimmed and cut out, I did go ahead and adhere all of those to a white A2 size card base. I did use a lot of plain white card bases today for my cards, but I wanted to show you guys how simple these are, and since I wasn't going to be showing how I put all the cards together, I did want to keep them pretty simple overall. Here's a look at the final finished card. I really hope you love today's projects. Here you can see them all completed. I really do hope you love them. Be sure to let me know down in the comments which one was your favorite and if you plan to try any of these techniques in your future card making adventures. Thank you guys for tuning in for another Save the Crafty YouTuber hop. I absolutely enjoyed having you here. If you haven't subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you liked what you saw and give this video a big thumbs up. I'll see you next time.